There are some amazing decks that you probably never heard of. Not because they're bad, but because we are guilty of chasing the next big thing. The hot indie release or a hyped up mass market production, you get me. The truth is, some of the most amazing decks were created decades ago. I'm not talking about RWS or Tarot de Marseille. I'm talking about decks created in the 70s, 80s and 90s, painstakingly by real artists spending years sometimes to paint or draw them. And this is a time when there was no AI, so it wasn't a prompt engineer trying different things and putting it together. I'm talking about real mastership. Hey, welcome back. And if you're new to the channel, I'm Jay, and this is Morgan-Greer Tarot, where I bring you weekly tarot and oracle deck reviews to inspire your readings. Now with help of Dr. Kotnik over there, who is quite shy on camera but very highly opinionated behind the scenes. The first deck I want to show you is Tarot the Cat People, and Dr. Kotnik approved that one. It's not just a tarot deck, it's a whole universe. So this deck was created in 1984 by Karen Kayukandal, and this lady is a legend. She grew up in Arizona on a farm with 10 cats, and later on became an artist. And she loved cats so much that she dressed up in the attire of this deck, and she was lovingly called the Cat Lady. And Karen wasn't just some artist. So this lady was only female editorial cartoonist in the 60s in the US. And she took 2 years to create this deck. Now, the lore of this deck is about these people living what she called outer regions. And they had or have this beautiful connection with cats. They revered them, they spoke to them, and what you see on each one of those cards is one of those outer regions people with always a cat in the background. If it's not a cat sitting there looking at you, it's probably a cat drawn on the back of a card. And I did mention the lore here. This is a tiny little guidebook, but it's got so much information that it's quite dense. And this is a story of this cat people of outer regions, right? And the suits are made to be representing those people from these different areas, and they have characteristics very similar to Major Arcana suits in Rider-Waite-Smith. And this deck is a close match with RWS. So if you're already an RWS reader, you'll definitely enjoy reading with this deck. Now, Karen has a very unique painting style. You can see that she used a brush, and that's why the palette on this deck and the patterns are quite soft and really beautiful. You appreciate this deck more you work with it. Let me show you some of my favorite cards in this deck. So I love the strength card. Look at the feeling here. These beautiful charming eyes and the person sitting on the back of this tiger or huge cat, I'm not quite sure. And this is what I like about this deck. It's like talking to an old friend, and the more you speak to it, the closer you become with it. So this is a judgment card, the rejuvenation, and I think it's a really beautiful replacement here. So this lady is sort of similar to what you see in RWS, rising from the coffin, and you see these little heads going up, and I think it's actually a number of cat lives. I think that's what it is, or maybe cat spirits, I'm not quite sure, but nevertheless, beautiful card. I also like the temperance here. And something about this card just makes you instantly happy, especially if you love cats. Like this one here, it just looks so at peace. So if you want a tarot deck that's widely original, has a rich background history, I don't actually know another deck that has such a huge story written about it. 2 books, the beautiful artwork, all done by hand. And if you do like cats, I think Tarot of the Cat People is a no-brainer to have in your collection, and it's actually a deck you can easily read with too. The next deck I'm going to show you is the Aquarian Tarot, and this is deck created by David Palladini. It's got like a really cool mix of Art Nouveau and Art Deco style, and I think it was riding that wave of the age of Aquarius that's been quite popular in the 70s. Let's have a look at this. So the Aquarian Tarot was published by the US Games, and it's still in print today. It's just been continuously printed. And the artwork, if you haven't seen it, is beautiful. It's got this very soft autumn-like palette with brown and sort of reddish colors in there. Interesting story about David, that in 1968 he was a photographer at Mexico Olympic Games, and also rumored to inspire the aesthetics and the style of the Tron movies, I think 1982, just because he was in the same artistic circles that the creators of the movie were also hanging out. David also went on and created a new Palladini Tarot. You probably have heard of that one if you know of this deck. And he also illustrated Stephen King's novel. So he's been in artistic circles for quite a lot. There's a bit of information about him here. So what can we say about the artwork? So it's got borders, as you can see here, and the characters have this sort of elongated bodies, and you can see the influence of that Art Deco and Art Nouveau, just a blend, quite an interesting one too. And the artwork of the characters is quite like a medieval style look like as well, so there's a few art styles blended here. And because of the color palette, I think, and also the expression on the faces, it doesn't have really striking or punchy emotions, and because of that, a lot of readers like it for intuitive readings. Let me show you a couple of cards that illustrate this point beautifully. The Five of Pentacles, the famous despair outside of church. Here, it's got a bit of a melancholic feel to it, but it's not as striking as the Rider-Waite-Smith image. Now this one, Six of Cups, I think makes me feel even more nostalgic if I look at this one. Just a beautiful design, and it doesn't really try to drag you into the story. It invites this exploration. This is my other favorite card, and I think I like the balance here, a bit of red, and it's just such a great artwork. Even the name of the card fits in so perfectly well. You can see there's a lot happening in the background as well, so this still has this feel of mystery and sacred knowledge that High Priestess is hiding behind the veil, but just the way it's done it is very different and more subtle. And the Lovers is probably my favorite card as well, just because of such an interesting use of the patterns here. It almost looks like a peacock or pheasant, the bird. Did I pronounce it correctly, Dr. Kotnik? And this is like one of my favorite cards probably here. So if you like the style of this deck and a bit of a 70 time capsule appeal, also if you like intuitive reading and subtlety in your decks, the Aquarian Tarot is definitely a good pick. The next deck on the list is the Tarot of Sacred Rose, which is also lovingly referred to as Zombie Tarot, and I'll tell you why in a second. So this deck was created by Joanna Gargiulo Sherman, and she got inspiration from growing up in a house where there was a lot of paintings. I think it was like granddad paintings. And this deck blends a whole bunch of concepts into it. There's a Kabbalah there is Western spirituality, all happily blended together. So the main motif of this deck is the roses, and if in Buddhism and Hinduism, lotus is sort of prominent plant that symbolizes spirituality, in Western spirituality and mysticism, it's the rose, and hence the theme of this deck. Some people get turned off a little bit by the look of the faces, and that's what I was talking about when I said Zombie Tarot. If you have a look very closely, you will see that the characters on this deck don't have pupils, and it's there for a reason. Joan wanted to make the characters look like this to emphasize that these are enlightened beings. And this is a sign of transcendence, if anything. And every card here has a rose color. So, for instance, white will be representing purity, or red will represent passion or knowledge. So a lot of readers picked this deck, and it was one of the first spiritual decks. And I think if you spend time working with it, it will show you a lot of secrets. Let me show you some of my favorite cards in this deck. I love the star, just like this red star behind. It almost shows me liberation. I don't know why, maybe Cuba or something like this. It's quite striking, and the star here, it doesn't just represent serenity while the girl pouring water. She's looking at you, and the hope is there. These cards are talking directly to you. The moon here is quite beautiful as well. I just like how huge the moon is, and this lobster, crustacean coming out of water. It's sort of climbing, clinging on to this woman that is holding the moon in her hands. The Ace of Wands, quite a striking card. It really punches you with a massive club-like wand here and a red rose representing passion. The Seven of Wands, you can see the fight goes on there. You can almost feel the struggle and fire in this person defending his position. And the Ten of Swords, I quite like this take here. It doesn't strike you in a negative way, but you feel that there is something happening. I think this card probably speaks more to the emotional and intuitive side than to your logic, and that's the beauty of this deck. So I think the Sacred Rose Tarot is for someone who likes to explore spirituality and dive into Western mysticism or Kabbalah. And as long as you're not turned off by the eyes with no pupils, I think you'll do fine. The next deck I'm going to show you, the Hanson-Roberts Tarot, or how some people call it, the Tarot with Friendly Face. Now, one thing that strikes you right off the bat is how small this deck is. It's almost like a travel version, and I can see why someone with small hands will really enjoy working with it. It's just a nice in-between size. So this was published around in 1985, believe it or not, and it's got quite an interesting artwork. I quite like these labels on the cards, and the artwork is quite unique. It's almost college-like, but then it's all been painted by hand. So this deck was designed to be friendly, intuitive, and easy to handle, and I think it hits all of its boxes. Interesting thing about this deck that even minor arcana cards feel alive, so it really places you in a place of action. Now, while this deck is gentle, it still has those scenes like Ten of Swords or Nine of Swords presented there too. Though they feel more dreamlike, I think probably representing the fact that the sword's really about our worries and anxiety, and most of it's happening in our heads. Cards feel quite nice in your hands as well. They are printed in Italy, and quality's very nice. I quite like them. They're thin, but they're not too thin, and I think this deck will age really well if you use it daily. Just want to show you some of the cards that I like. The Six of Pentacles, just a beautiful, kind faces here. The Death here is not scary at all. It's sort of just doing its thing without freaking you out when you do a reading. And even the Devil looks a bit cartoonish like, almost like a vampire from the 80s movies. So I think this is a good deck for beginners or someone who likes to read for other people, even kids perhaps, because imagery there is not very strong and not off-putting. The paper quality is quite good too, and the cards are small, easy to shuffle. The next couple of decks I'll be showing you probably my favorites out of this whole bunch. And this deck, the Kotnik Tarot, was created by self-taught artists, believe it or not, and it's beautiful. So this slightly older deck was created in 1988 by the gentleman called Norbert Loche, and I probably not pronounced it correctly. Dr. Kotnik is not helping me right now with that. So a couple of interesting things about Norbert. I mentioned that he taught himself how to paint, and he also was a very spiritual person. He joined the Osho community. If you don't know who Osho is, he was a spiritual leader, quite controversial as well. There's an interesting documentary about his life on Netflix. And later, Norbert became a Buddhist. So Norbert before creating the deck, and this is his biggest project as he considered it himself. He worked as an illustrator for spiritual and fantasy books, and really shows here. And he also drew inspiration when creating this deck from Hollywood movies, surprising or not. And when we get to the code cards of Minor Arcana, you will see exactly what I mean right here. So there's a speculation here that he used Hollywood movie posters, and that's why the faces look very much like maybe some of the actors that you know. This lady looked like Elizabeth Taylor to me. Not sure if you find the resemblance here. So this deck's got a whole bunch of things going on. There's a Kabbalah, there's esoteric meaning. Some say that the Minor Arcana has Thoth looking like actions there, and I'm not reading with Thoth, so you can be a judge of that and tell me in the comments below if that's actually true. Let me show you some of my favorite cards in this deck. The Magician here, remember I mentioned that there's a lot of different blends of different mysticism. This is clearly an Egyptian style here. Looks like almost like a pharaoh, but with kind of almost Buddhist or maybe like Asian wise man or monk look. The Justice, you can see this continuation of this theme of this beaming lights from eyes. Here it's emanating from the infinity sign, lemniscate. And here, this is Justice. It comes out of the Justice eyes. And also here you can see the yin-yang symbol. And then there's a red rose in here. So there's so many different symbols in here. It'll probably take you a while to figure out the meaning of each card. I love the Hermit card. This looks to me like someone living in ashram, and again, given the couple of fun facts that I've given you, this probably draw inspiration from the time when Norbert lived in Osho community. And finally, the Wheel of Fortune, and this is another beautiful mix of different things here. So the Western astrology, of course, the symbols here, this Hebrew writing, and then in the middle you've got mandala, which is ever present in Buddhist philosophy or religion. So this deck quietly earned its space on the Cult Tarot deck list, and not surprisingly, the author Norbert also avoided social media, and I think he avoided all the hype. He passed away in 2022, but the deck lived on, and it sold over 250,000 copies, believe it or not. And that's huge in tarot world. So who is this for? I think if you like the aesthetics, of course. Also, if you want to dive into some of the meaning on the cards and mysticism, I think there's a lot of little cues there. And I haven't had this deck for a long time, but I'm loving just going through it and picking up all the small things that I haven't realized were there. And I think it's a quite unique deck because it bridges that mysticism and Thoth with a sort of elegance and almost like a ease with a slight flavor of a pop culture. Now my next deck is a real treasure. This is a culmination of years of work by the author Robin Wood, who used to sell fan art on Star Trek conventions, and it's got an amazing artwork. So this card was created by ink pencils, and it's got quite a unique and sometimes polarizing artwork. Someone on Amazon was complaining about the Lovers card showing some, in their view, inappropriate detail. Interesting enough, I think it's there on purpose because it's quite a pagan Wicca feel to it, as you will see, and it probably has, because of that, it has its own appeal. Robin uses the colors quite well. So for the swords, for instance, there's a lot of blue and gray, but then she'll throw like a red rope like this one here to just throw an accent. It just does so well, like here as well. It's probably one of the most beautiful and true to RWS artwork Lovers card that I have seen. And look at this one. This lady is finding refuge with a silhouette of an angel almost in a boat that is shaped like a swan. There's so much grace and nature themes in this deck that I think it just has to be in your collection if the artwork resonates with you. Let me quickly show you some of my favorite cards. So this is the the Two of Cups, and I love the symbol in the background there. This is probably one of the most happiest Ten of Cups cards that I have seen. It just speaks family, and a bit of the Captain America here as well. It's still a nice touch. The Ace of Wands, how cool is that? This is just so punchy, and it's a statement. There's a passion and fire. You just undeniably there. There's no pussyfooting around this deck. It's just there right in your face, and in a good way again. And this is the famous controversial Lovers card, and apparently one of the reviewers on Amazon didn't like too much hair in this people, which I think is natural. If you look at it here, there isn't anything there that necessarily, you know, crossing the line in the tarot world. So who's a Ruben Wood Tarot for? If you like nature scenes, if you like people, this is definitely a deck for you. This deck breaks barriers. It feels like you're talking to someone you don't have to hide anything from. It's really into your face with beautiful colors, and I think Robin left a beautiful legacy. If the card artwork resonates with you, I think this is a must-have in your collection. This deck is still being spoken about in tarot forums, and I think it's here to stay. My next deck on this list is Morgan-Greer Tarot. It feels like it just came from a time capsule, and it was created in 1979. Now, Morgan-Greer Tarot was created by an artist, Bill Greer, and was commissioned by Lloyd Morgan. Later on, was picked by the US Games, which is also the publisher of Aquarian Tarot. They sort of came around the same time. And an interesting thing about Morgan-Greer, it was quite a revolutionary deck at the time, because it was one of the first decks that did not have the borders, and it was quite a unique take on RWS, because a couple of other interesting things happening with this deck. As you can see, we kind of zooming in on these characters in this deck, and that's the beauty of it. It's actually my favorite deck out of these 7. It's got its own color palette, which is a little bit subtle, but then it's got a bit of an influence from RWS still, and it's just a beautiful deck to work with. What I find with it is that you have to pay attention to people's faces, and it helps if you know RWS already, because the imagery is the same. But because you zoomed in there, it sort of gives this extra layer, almost like a clarifier, because you can look at the characters' emotions, like this one here, right? Very 70s look, but look at this guy, the mustache and the hairdo, just classic. So you can see this guy is hard at work. And if you look at the RWS card, which I conveniently have over here, you can see the same guy here. So it's almost like, you know, this guy is hard at work, and this is how hard he's working. And every card in this deck is exactly the same. You can see this guy holding on to his coins, and you can see his face, and he's concerned, he doesn't want to let go. The High Priestess here as well, you can see her a little bit closer, but maybe on Major Arcana you don't get the same effect as you get on Minor Arcana. I think that's the beauty of this deck. Like this one here, you don't see the faces, but there is intensity in the air. And every card is like this, and I think it's beautiful because it portrays the emotions so well. It's sort of zooming in on what's happening with this scene. Devil here, you don't really see the couple chain, but the look of a devil and symbolism evokes certain emotions in you. And if you ask me what's your favorite card in this deck, I have so many. I'm just gonna go for them and point out, and I think if you like the artwork of this one, you will appreciate it right away. The Death card here, it's a completely different take on it. You have a White Rose of Purity. The Death liberates by starting a new cycle, and you start fresh. The Star, very different take here, but you can always connect with the characters here, and it's got this 70s or early 80s appeal that really resonates so well with me. One of the most beautiful Ten of Cups cards that I have seen. Also notice there is no any writings here. It doesn't tell you this it's the Ten of Cups or anything. There's a number, and that's about it. And that's the beauty of this deck. I think while it really puts you close to the faces of these people, to emotions, it still gives you enough space not to clutter your vision, so you can give it a proper justice. Who is this deck for? I think if you like emotional connections with your decks, this is definitely one of those. If you like the 70s and 80s aesthetics, this is a no-brainer. If you like the artwork of this is absolutely a must-have in your collection. And this deck was the one that inspired me to make this video. Look at this Ace of Cups here. I mean, where else have you seen so much emotions portrayed there? They can just puts you right in the middle of a card so you can get the meaning. So yeah, you can see how passionate I am about this deck, and if you wanted to get at least one of these decks out of the whole list because you already have too many in your collection, Morgan-Greer should be the one. So these are 7 classic gems that are still in print. We're incredibly lucky to still be able to buy these decks and not costing you $1,000. You can get one of these for 15 or 20 bucks, which is just unbelievable. Now over to you. What do you have in your collection? Do you have anything that I missed? You can also check out my entire collection by the link on the screen. And this is it for today. If you got something out of it, feel free to subscribe. And if you'd like to support what I do, you'll find everything you need in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.